like during their spiritual awakening, end up in psychosis, end up actually delusional, end up not knowing what's real, end up in that state also because they are following their own pride. They are not following God. Now, that's why you have a lot of people running around saying they are God, and I kind of understand where they're coming from. They're trying to acknowledge the fact that they have power, but it would be like wiser to realize that you're made in the image of God rather than to feel like you are a God. Because if I'm a God, you're a God, that's a God, we're a God, he's a God, she's a God, that takes credit away from the Most High God. It almost sounds like you're trying to make yourself equal, right? And then it's also a lot of people don't wake up spiritually to serve. A lot of people do not wake up spiritually to serve and to awaken others. They wake up spiritually because they want something. They want power. They want to manifest. They can do all of that stuff. All of that stuff comes with serving. But the problem is people start serving themselves. And that opens the door for other spirits to get in. And that opens the door for you to be influenced by anything because you're just opening yourself up to any type of spirit so that you can have power rather than serving God and taking the power that God gives you. And a lot of people speak down on the Christians. A lot of people speak down on them and say all type of stuff like they're brainwashed and stuff. But yo, we're all brainwashed. Point blank period. Everything that anybody knows, nobody just knows. Nobody knows the truth. So every single one of us is brainwashed to a degree. And the problem is this is how a lot of people end up in hospitals. This is how a lot of people end up completely sounding crazy, delusional, not making no sense. It's because, bro, you're not following any type of higher power. You're following yourself. How the heck do you have an ego death and you wake up a God? That don't even make sense. That means your ego grew. If your ego died, you would become humbler. You will see yourself as less, not see yourself as more. That is your ego growing. But a lot of people don't see it that way because they follow that ego that they say died. So it's like, bro, we got to really wake up because we're not waking up right now. A lot of us are not waking up to what the real spirituality is or to what the higher power is. A lot of us are just waking up to the fact that there is power and there is spirits in this world, but we're not waking up to the truth. And that's why nobody wants to listen either. That's why it's hard to spread messages because everybody has pieces of the truth, but everybody also has lies. But the thing is, a lot of people are more comfortable following them lies and following their pride than they are following the Most High, Yahusha, Yeshua, Yahuwah, Yahweh, whatever you want to call it. Like, that's the huge problem right now. This is why we're having so much spiritual psychosis and why a lot of people are saying they're having a spiritual awakening and then they end up in a spiritual psychosis. It's because you went from having a spiritual awakening to having a spiritual awakening where you just became following your own spirit rather than following the source. So when you start to follow the source, you'll realize that you are not a God. You are made in the image of God. You still have all the power that you're talking about you have because you're God. You still have that power. But you cannot exercise that power if you are not connected to source. So when you try to exercise that power and you're not connected to source, you're going to start experiencing a whole bunch of different other spirits that you don't need to experience. Like, you're opening the door for Satan, you're opening the door for all these negative spirits, and that's why they be talking about manifesting stuff and be in the same spot they was before they had their spiritual awakening. Like, manifesting, all of that stuff comes from God. Like, you cannot have any type of power, point blank period, without God, without the Most High, without Yahuwah, without Yahusha. So, I mean, y'all can say what y'all want. Y'all can call me crazy. Y'all can say, oh, your ego died and now you're a God. You can say whatever, bro. But it's just like, look, man, the simple truth of the matter is that statement doesn't even make sense. A. And B, this is why people don't even want to listen to you. This is why people are ending up in hospitals. This is why people are getting diagnosed with stuff. This is why people end up having a hard time. This is why people are suffering. This is why you end up in a spiritual psychosis. Because you're not actually having a real spiritual awakening anymore. You started off having a spiritual awakening, but somewhere down the line, you became too prideful and started to follow that pride. And you know who the angel of pride was. Who was the first person to say that they were just like God?